Welcome to this week's edition of Black Authors Matter TV, where we interview the latest movers and shakers in the African American literary community. You'll meet some old friends, discover new ones, and stay abreast of the latest book developments around the country and even the world. So sit back and relax for the next 2 hours with Black Authors Matter TV co-hosts Gwen Richardson and Dr. Rhonda Lawson.
Good evening and welcome to the October 15th edition of Black Authors Matter TV. I'm Gwen Richardson, your host for tonight, and my co-host is logged on, but she's not on screen yet. And we are 2 days away from the launch of the 2024 National Black Book Festival. It is going to be a grand event. So for those of you all who haven't decided yet, we want you there at least one of the days. Just you don't have to be there the whole weekend. Just come out and support the authors and see all the free information that's available and do some networking. At the top of the show, we're going to be showing a video from one of the authors who will be in the house at the festival. She has a video about her book. And after we show the video, we are going to bring on our first guest.
I remember my mom packing us up, and we took a taxi and picked up my sister. I remember us picking her up from school and going to the Greyhound bus station. I asked my mom where we were going. She said, oh, we're going to Detroit because Stevie Wonder sent for me. My aunts and uncles would come and say that she needed to go to the hospital, but as children, we didn't realize anything differently about our mom. So going to Detroit didn't seem unusual. We got to Detroit and checked into a hotel that night. It was some hours later, a man drove us to basically what was a homeless shelter. When we were in Detroit, we lived in this rundown, horrible, infested building. My mother was not a smoker, but in Detroit, she smoked. One night, she told us, me and my sister, to go and get her cigarettes. And we knew the store on the corner. She gave us money and we left. It was almost 10 o'clock at night. I was 4 years old and my oldest sister was 6. Even to think about that today is kind of absurd. It just seemed okay. We were just obeying our mom. The door was locked, but there were people in there, and we knocked and tried to get him to let us in. And the 60s weren't a very kind time. We set out to find another store. We began to walk and wander. After some moment of time, we came upon a store. We got the cigarettes. At that point, we began to walk back and realized we were lost. Didn't know the street, didn't know the address, just didn't know even which way we had turned. There was a crowd of people. They were protesting something that was always going on. I suggested to my sister, maybe if we cross the street, somebody could help us. This gentleman is there, this tall white man. He asked, "Are you girls lost?" We said, "Yes." And he says, "Well, where do you live?" "We don't know where we live." And he said, "Let me take you home." All of a sudden, we turned down our street and he said, "Is this where you live?" We said, "Yes." And he said, "Go on upstairs, your mother's waiting." I get emotional when I think about this story because I know that it was some miracle that we were saved. As I realized that that was an angel from God.
That was a video by Sandra Branham, and she will be at the 2024 National Black Book Festival with her book about her experiences growing up in Detroit. So we have our co-host, Dr. Rhonda Lawson, on screen, and we will both be at the National Black Book Festival, of course. Rhonda's going to be interviewing all of the featured authors, and she also will be interviewing a few of the authors that are present there with their exhibit table. So she'll be doing that. And it's going to be lots going on. And we're going to have a table with the Black Authors Matter TV. We're going to have a reel. We're going to have reels of different interviews we've done, 1 or 2 minute segments, and it'll be playing kind of on the endless loop on the screen. So you all get a chance to see some of the different interviews, and you'll also get a chance, if you want to, we'll have cards with information if you're interested in being on the show. So our first guest is part of the Peace and Freedom Committee in Marion, Ohio. We had a couple of guests last week who were part of that organization. And the guest tonight is Kathleen Clemons-Keller. She has a children's book called Medea. And when she comes on screen, she's going to tell us what the book was about and what made her write the book and publish it. So Kathleen, welcome to Black Authors Matter TV.
Well, thank you. I really do appreciate this opportunity and time.
And we appreciate you being with us tonight. Thank you.
Do you have a copy of your book?
Yes.
Okay. And is the illustration based on real people, or is it just like a rendering of something that could be situational, a random or generic family?
Yeah, no, it's just a generic. It wasn't any particular family. Just when meeting with Grant Sykes out of Columbus, just I wanted a feel Medea being older but not too old.
Okay.
Wanting Dorian to have a look of just very studious, like one could be an engineer or something, that mind of scientists. And then Esther having that look where I put in there that she's like a tornado. She come in commanding, she's the one that, just roll her head, and her fingers and things of that nature. So wanted to have that look that she has, this attitude and everything. So after, going through it and talking with him, we came up with something. He came up with something great, for the cover of the book. So it's just good.
Okay. Now, when did your book come out?
In April.
In April of this year?
Yes. Yeah.
Okay.
I like that you are celebrating the name Medea, because a lot of people, when they hear Medea, they think about Tyler Perry, and they people don't realize that that was a beloved name for years, that people will call their elders, most times their grandmothers. So it's good that we're bringing that word back and showing the history and the culture in that word.
Yes, and I mentioned that in there because I let the readers know that I'm not Medea. I'm not Medea. Tyler Perry. I have not. Medea said I have nothing on her. So kind of thing. So just making sure they don't associate Medea with Medea. So that was emphasized in the book as well.
Okay. Yeah, and it's spelled different ways because Tyler Perry's Medea doesn't have an R on the end.
Correct.
Well, I don't know if there's a true way to spell it, because I think almost everybody who called their grandmother Medea probably spelled it a different way.
Well, my husband called his mother Medea.
Mm-hmm.
So his siblings, he's from a very big family. So he actually was raised by his grandmother. Well, his great grandmother actually raised him from up to a certain point. And that's who our daughter's named after, his great grandmother, which is our daughter's great great grandmother. But they called his great grandmother Mama Danks, because her last name was Banks. And I don't know where they came from, and I never met her because she was gone long before I met my husband. But a lot of names for grandmother exist in the African American community. Big Mama is one that's very common.
Yes.
A lot of people call their grandmamas Big Mama. We just called ours grandma, but you know, every family is different.
Yeah, and we did too, because my parents are from the South. They're from North Carolina. I was born and raised in Ohio. But I had some friends, so it talks a little bit about in the book about how African Americans migrated to Marion and why. At the time there was a booming industry of jobs. And so there's a variety of African American families that are from the South, Alabama, Mississippi, North Carolina, South Carolina, North Carolina, and different places like that. And so when I met some friends, and they came later, I think I was probably in high school when I met them. They were twins and they were from Alabama. And that's when I first heard the term mud deer. That's what they called her when they moved here with their grandmother, and so they called her Mud Deer. And so that's where I picked that up, because that wasn't something that my parents called their parent or grandparent. And like you said, I call my grandma. So, but I really liked that because of it was a mother endearment, a term of endearment, a mother to all, not just her own, but to all that come into her space or presence. So
yeah, a lot of times you really didn't even know your grandparents' whole names necessarily, because they went by the terms of endearment. So a lot of times finding out more information, more details happen later as you get older.
yeah, and one of the things with African American families, a lot of them are very hush quiet, about things. With mine, they didn't share a lot. They didn't, and I grew up in that family. You were seen and not heard, so you didn't say much, and you didn't ask questions. You know what I'm saying? And so,
No, yeah, no, I know exactly what and you didn't speak
yeah,
unless you were spoken to. And if some
right,
grown folks were talking, you definitely were not going to be
better not,
interrupting or nothing because they're
right.
talking, and that you just didn't do that.
Correct. So I miss a lot of the of knowing things, and now that both of my parents are gone, and I regret that. And a lot of the ones, that was because, like I said, my parents were from North Carolina here, and so my father was the only one here from his family, the Coons, and so my mother had some siblings here. So when we went south, it was a lot of times we were around the older ones, my parents' age, than around the younger ones. So lost a lot of relationship and history. Now I'm trying to find it, trying to connect, and so I can get more of information about our families. So it's been a deep dive trying to do it, but hopefully one day, I'm just trusting Yah, He will make it happen for me.
Now, what part of North Carolina are you from?
Uh, they're from Kinston, North Carolina,
Hmm.
so down near Jacksonville.
I don't know that area. My family's from North Carolina. That's why I asked. People who
Oh,
watch this
what
show
part of
know Durham area, but may have been in
Durham? So it's
Hillsborough.
right down in Durham area.
Is
Yeah,
it?
Kingston, Kinston.
What interstate is it off of? Is it off of an interstate, or do you have to
53.
go off the interstate?
See, when I go, a lot of time I'm going from my youngest son lives in Virginia now. So I go from there to North Carolina, and I think it's like 253 that I usually take to go down to Kinston. It's about
Okay.
4 hours from Newport News, Virginia.
Okay, I'm from Newport News.
You really? What?
So when you
Oh
were
my
talking about
goodness.
driving from Virginia to North Carolina, that's what we did often. And I know what you mean, because so you had to get off of the interstate to
Yes.
get, is it 58? Is there a 58?
58. That's what it is.
Okay.
58.
Yeah, you have
Yes.
to get off the interstate. Like Cedric the Entertainer in one of his stand-ups said, sometime when you go out to the country, you get off the interstate and then you get on one of the state roads, and then you get off of that and you're on a
Right.
2-lane road, then you get off of that. And that's what that some of those small communities are off
Correct.
of I know my grandmother lived, it wasn't paved when we had to turn to go to her house. It wasn't a paved
Mhm.
road. It was like a gravel type road where we had to
Right.
in the Hillsborough area. But yeah,
Oh,
all of
okay.
those places that you mentioned are all, in part of my upbringing growing
Oh,
up. And
okay.
we went south too. We lived in Virginia. My parents were from North Carolina, but we moved to Virginia when I was 8. So for the summer, we would go south to North Carolina. So I mean, it is south. It's not far, but it's 4 hours. And so we would
Right.
spend a couple of weeks at my grandmother's house. Or grandmother and
And
grandfather. Mhm.
yeah, so that's what we did, our summer trip. So
Mhm.
my father and mother lived in Washington, D.C. So we
Okay.
would fly into D.C. and then we'd take a bus to North Carolina. So we would be gone
Okay.
for about a month. So we spent a couple weeks, a little over a month, spent a couple weeks with my grandma in D.C. And then go down to North Carolina, spend a couple weeks, and then come back and spend at least a week or two with grandma before we came back to Marion. So that was pretty much our summer trips, was with them. So yeah.
Yeah, the kids still do that. I guess they do. I guess they do.
Yes.
I don't
Yeah.
know.
So
I know we sent our daughter. I'm in Texas, but for the summer she would spend a couple of weeks with my sister in Greensboro. So that we would go there for the 4th of July, and then she would stay there for 2 or 3 weeks, and then she would fly back by herself.
okay.
So we did that. She was there because we would do a road trip to go there, and
Mm-hmm.
then she would fly back by herself. She did that. That
Okay.
was how she ended up in college in North Carolina, at North
Oh,
Carolina
really?
Central, going on those summer
Yes.
trips, and then she visited the school. So,
Okay.
um, but those family connections are important. That's how you really get connected with your cousins and all that, unless they live in the same city as you.
Right.
Ours didn't. Our cousins all
See,
lived in North Carolina. So
right. And that was the same here in Marion, all our cousins were in the South in North Carolina. And so like I said, then, Virginia. So my former husband was in the military. So we were in
mm,
Newport News when my sons were little. And so
okay.
I was surprised when he put his application or resume on Indeed, and he said he got a call from Virginia. I said, "What part of Virginia?" He said, "New something." I said, "Newport News, Logan." He said, "Yeah." I said, "You used to live there when you were a kid." So I think it was just a turn. I love Virginia. I do. I love it with everything. It was just coming from Marion. And my ex-husband been in the military, traveling around, and then going into a community that people look like me, the majority. When you walk into banks, when you walk into this place or that place, and to be able to see that and embrace that, that was just, I wanted that. That's where my plan was after because after my divorce, I came home, where my family to help because the boys were still young. And but I was always going to go back to Virginia, but that's not what Yah had planned for me. So I never made, but my son is there, so I go
Oh,
at least a couple
okay.
times a year. So
Okay.
so I'm there. I'm just not there all the time. So
At
Yeah.
least you still get to visit, so it's good.
Mhm.
yes,
They have
yes,
nice weather. I mean,
yeah, oh
all
yes,
4 seasons. The winters aren't brutal, and but you do get snow. Most every
yes,
year, every season, you get snow.
yes,
Um,
nice.
We get
I,
snow here in DC too, so it's all good.
well, yeah, when I
Yeah.
lived up there, they had a big snow that was 17 or 18 inches one winter, and my car was parked outside on the street, and it got buried in the snow, and it
Oh
took
my.
4 days for them to clear everything out. So that was one of the I was out of school, so or was I still in school? I don't know. But I had my car, so I got my car when I was
Okay.
a junior. So before I moved away. But that area is nice.
Yes.
It still has a lot of not non-metro areas. It's a lot of rural areas in Virginia.
Yes, there is.
A lot of
Yes.
rural.
Mhm.
Because when you
So,
get off the highway and
um,
go on those roads, that's where you end up.
Yeah, and I,
so
I didn't go ahead.
no,
Sorry.
no, you go ahead. You can answer the question.
No, well, when saying I didn't realize that there was that much rural area in Virginia until I have a niece that lives up near Richmond.
Oh
I
yeah.
forget what and it went through the back, and I'm like, I could not believe that it was that way because I'm thinking more city, than rural, like Marion, like Ohio, but yeah, I was really surprised to see that. I expected going south, when we go down to North Carolina, the rural areas, but I didn't expect to be in Virginia still, going
So
that
there's
way.
some
So
rural
yeah.
areas in Virginia. I used to live in Virginia myself.
Oh,
Yeah,
did you?
lots
Oh,
of them.
okay.
Well, no, I
Now,
was just going to
where
ask
did
you.
you live in Virginia, Rhonda? You live so many different places. I can't keep track of all the different places.
I was stationed in Virginia Beach when I was in the military.
Oh, okay,
Oh,
okay.
okay.
Well, that's at the water. So,
Yeah.
Yeah.
yeah,
Well,
that's
I was
pretty
just going to ask you because I didn't want us to run short of time before
on
we
the
ask
book.
about your book.
Oh, sorry about
So,
that.
yeah, no.
Yeah,
It's
because we could
always
talk about places for the whole show.
yeah. So when I was just going to ask, is this your first book or how many books do you have?
No, this is my first book. So this was done with the Peace and Freedom. So where
Mhm,
Shauna McNamara was on last week or week before last.
mhm.
So there's like 6 of us
Mhm.
who have written books. So the Peace and Freedom is a nonprofit organization here in Marion that Laura Troutman has started some years ago. And so when you get like app grant money, they want you to also have something that will sustain you just in case that grant money runs out. So so Laura and Rhea Edmond decided to do a book publication. And so right before COVID hit, there was a team of us, there was groups. So there were like 4 or 5 in each group, and there was like, I think maybe 3 or 4 different groups, but Laura can tell you more when she comes on for her interview. So there was quite a few groups, and then COVID hit. So we were meeting on Zoom, and then you know how that goes,
Yeah.
isolation, people start to move away, and then I just felt with the Holy Spirit just starting to move in me that I just began to write it myself, said it, with the group. And so in all of that, so there were 6 of us that continued to move forward in writing. So there's 6 authors that have come out this year from the Peace and Freedom book writing. So we wanted to highlight, emphasize Marion, our Black community, through sharing it and diversity in our history, because we have a rich history. So we want others to embrace that as well.
I love it when people celebrate the history of their cities because no matter where you live in the United States, there's always a pocket of history that people just don't realize. I mean, even
Yes.
people who grew up there don't always know. I mean, I grew up in New Orleans, but there are still parts of New Orleans that I'm still learning, and I'm an adult. So
Right.
I love the fact that you're celebrating that history. What are some of the ways that you're doing? Are you able to go into the schools or maybe reach some of the young people with your books?
Yeah, so with Laura's Color Me Friend, so she's been able to go more into books, into the schools. So mine's is more upper elementary, 4th, 5th through 8th grade. And
Mhm.
so now we're getting going to be meeting with the literacy people in order to bring in the other books. So yeah, so others have been given opportunity to come and read their books, but mine's is more of a chapter book, it's 10 chapters, but they're not very long. So I haven't had that opportunity yet, but I have gone to book signings and different things that, here at the Marion Public Library in Marion. We did that back in the end of August. We were invited to the book signing in Columbus, their Juneteenth, at the Metropolitan Library in Columbus, Ohio. And then we also were down, invited to a book signing in Dayton, Ohio. So we've been different places. So just getting the book out and getting ones to read it. I've had several professors, because I used to work for the Ohio State University at Marion before I went back into the high school. And a couple of the professors read it, and they, really talked to how it was for younger, but it was also for adults, because there was a lot of inspiration and to inspire things that people may not realize or knew about, and so I got, working with them in different ones. So just trying to get it out there and get the opportunity to, share this in the school. So hopefully they'll receive these, as we get them prepared and ready to send to them.
Well, you may not be in the schools, but it sounds like you're able to reach young people through the other avenues that you have been afforded.
Yes, yeah, and what I found too, a lot of the ones that are at the book signing are younger kids. They're more elementary down. And so trying to get somewhere where it's more that middle school age with it. But there've been a lot in the community that have supported me with it. So that's been really nice, and family members and different ones and people I know. So but really would like to get this nationally. I might like where my son lives in Virginia, and his barbershop guy is very communal. He knows just about everybody. He posts everything. And I said, Logan, next time I come, I want to meet him so I can talk to him so we can get our books down in Virginia as well. So
Okay, yeah. It's helpful to connect with a group of authors in the same genre or similar genre, where you all can go out together and meet people and sell your books, where it brings more people if you have a group of authors as opposed to just one, unless the one is well known. But even then, it's helpful to have more than one. And then, you can share the costs and all of that. So it's
yeah,
very helpful to connect with other people. Now, how big is Marion? What's the
Marion is
population?
the population probably for the whole county is about 6,000. So,
Oh, it's
Marion
small.
City. Yeah, so it's
Okay.
relatively small. It's not large, but I may be off a little bit. I haven't done that in a while because I've been out of the diversity area working now that I'm in the high school. But so yeah, so it's probably about between 6 and 7,000, I believe, as a whole for the whole county area of Marion.
Oh, okay. Yeah,
Hmm.
that's a tight-knit community.
It sounds like it.
Yeah, so
Mhm.
yeah, so I was born and raised here. So I went
Oh,
to school here, graduated from the high school here, and
okay.
attended the Ohio State University Marion and then Columbus campus for my bachelor's degree. So yeah, so I've been here. Like I said, my former husband was in the military, so I was away for about 10 years, and then I came back and I've been here ever since. So yeah.
Okay. Well, it sounds like you all are making a difference in Marion and with your Peace and Freedom organization, so that you're to be commended for that. And yes, you're the third author that we've had on from your city and part of your group. And so it's great. I really like to meet people who figure out that um, two is better than one, so to speak.
Right,
Yes.
right.
And and it's been good, with the six of us going out, if we can, if the time affords us, and what is nice is that the Peace and Freedom pick up all of our expenses. So because we don't get any royalties from the book, all the money, the proceeds go back
Go back to the
to the Peace
organization.
and Freedom Committee.
Okay. Okay.
Yeah.
So so when you're out selling your book, those so how are you able to make your book into an income producing opportunity for you.
So
Are you able to do that?
for my personals,
Mhm.
no, the all rights, everything belongs to the Peace and Freedom. So I could
Okay.
never make anything off of the book. So,
Okay.
like I
Well, you can
said, they
always
took
do
care.
other books in the future. So since this is
Oh,
your
yes.
first book, it's like a launching pad for you.
Right,
Right.
right.
And so when Laura asked me, she remembered me saying that, back in the day, the Holy Spirit gave me some years back that I was going to write books. And then it was confirmed, and I just never, because it was her story. And I just felt like my story wasn't what would make people want to read my story. I don't think my life was that traumatic that someone would want to read it. But as I'm transitioning and moving forth and different things, I'm starting to sense that movement that, he's in control of how it ends. So I just have to go ahead and do it. So I will be writing my own book. But there also with Madeira, there's a sequence to it. So there'll be other books coming that will go with Madeira. So just to share a little bit more in history of Marion. So
Okay. Well, we're at the end of our time. Show your book cover one more time. The cover from Medea, so people can see it, what it looks like. So when they go to order it, they know that they're ordering the correct book. And the book is available online at it's
yes.
the Boom info. You have the link, Rhonda. Did you put the link on there?
It's already in the chat.
Okay. I knew you were on it. I'm just making sure. So, okay. Well, thank you so much, Kathleen, for being a guest
Thank
on Black
you.
Authors Matter TV.
All right. Thank you so much.
You're
Have a
welcome.
Appreciate it.
great
Okay. Like we said, this is the weekend for the National Black Book Festival, and we're very excited. It's going to be an amazing time. So we have our next guest on for tonight. Her name is Deborah Mello, and she's been writing for quite some time. She's going to tell us exactly how long, but she has a lot of books, and you've been on our radar for a while. We just hadn't had an opportunity to have you on the show. So, and she has a new book that just came out in July. So she's going to tell us about that book and her other books because this is her first appearance on the show. And we welcome you to Black Authors Matter TV.
Thank you. It's a pleasure to be here.
And it's a pleasure to have you. Thank you for being here tonight.
Thank you.
So tell us about your writing career. Just go back kind of to the beginning and then bring us up to the present time.
Well, I published my first book in 2003. It was a BET romance novel.
Okay.
And my career started in romance and has kind of morphed into its own journey since then. I've published some 68 titles to date and hope to do at least 68 more before I finally decide to give it all up. Um, I've
That's a
written
lot of
for,
books.
it's a lot of books. I've written
Mhm.
for BET, I've written for Harlequin, I've written for Kensington, and I have my own imprint, McGregor Press.
You're a
Okay.
busy lady.
I'm
Oh,
sorry?
she said you're a busy lady. You
Well, I
got cut
try to
off a little
be.
bit. Um, can you bring our audience up to speed on BET books? A lot of people may not know that BET had a line of books that they were
Right.
publishing.
It was a romance line.
It
Mhm.
was. They were pretty much the first ones out here publishing African American romance novels by African American authors. And the likes of Beverly Jenkins and Brenda Jackson, and many of us got our start with BET. About 40 years into my career there, they were then purchased by Harlequin.
Okay. Okay. I didn't realize Harlequin purchased them.
Yeah.
So I don't know. Rhonda, did you know that? Yeah.
I didn't know that.
Yeah. I didn't know. I thought they just dissolved. I just thought
No,
they stopped publishing. I didn't
no.
know Harlequin bought. So when Harlequin bought them, did they they didn't keep the name BET. They just made everything under the Harlequin umbrella or imprint.
Yes.
Okay.
We became Harlequin Kamani.
Oh, the Kamani. Okay.
The Kamani line.
Kimani.
Mhm.
Okay. All right. Well, that was in the early 2000s, because I remember when BET Books, so when they launched,
Yeah.
we opened our store in 2000. So we were carrying a lot of the books that they published, and we would have some of the authors at our store at book signings and so forth back then. So now you said you started off in romance, but you've gone in different directions and sometimes coming back to romance. But what other genres are you writing?
Right now I'm writing in romantic suspense, with a little bit of mystery. I've written 2 literary novels. I just like to write. For me, it's about telling a great story. Uh, and wherever that may fall, so be it. With my first book, I didn't know it was a romance novel until it was published.
I was
Um,
actually just about to ask you that. Do you go into the book planning that it's going to be contemporary fiction or romance or suspense or what have you? Or do you just kind of tell the story and then they kind of tell you your characters tell you where to go?
Well, with my first book, I assumed I had written the next literary tome. You know, it was going to be #1 bestseller. Well, I found out with some very clever editing that it was a romance novel. And what I discovered with my own writing was that if you centered the story around family and then someone falling in love, it's naturally a romance story. Um, throw in another element like a little suspense or a little mystery, and then you've just added on to it, and it's romantic suspense. So,
Okay.
I love romantic suspense though, but I like romantic suspense with an element of adventure. I don't want it to be okay, they met, they hated each other, they fell in love, then something happened that tore them apart and they came back together.
That's
and
the
then
plot. That's the plot.
well, you know, romance was very formulaic back
It
in the
was.
day.
It was.
You know, it was guy meets girl, guy and girl fall in love, guy and girl fall out of love, guy and
Mhm.
girl get back
Get back
together
together
again,
and
happy ending.
happily ever after.
But there
Right.
are people who expect that. They
Yeah.
read romance novels and that's the only formula they want.
Well,
So
what's interesting for me was when I started writing, as I said, my first book, I didn't know it was a romance novel. Die-hard romance readers were very quick to tell me that I didn't follow the formula. And at the time, I was not a romance reader. In fact, I admit to being very much a romance snob. So I had to learn how to write romance. So that's when I started reading other romance authors, Beverly Jenkins, Jacqueline Thomas. You know, I was reading anybody and everybody. And what I discovered was there was this amazing community of women who were writing incredible stories. And I really just wanted to be a part of that.
So when you said you were a romance snob, what does that mean? What were you turning your nose up, and what were you turning your nose up to, and what did you actually crave?
Because, you know, I had never read romance. So in my mind, I fell into the thought process that it wasn't as good as quality literature. So, you know, it just you dismiss it. But again, you know, when I read it, it's like, no, I was very mistaken. And then I discovered, you know, there were those who had the same attitude about my own books. And I quickly had to defend that. No, I know I am writing a great story. It might have a love element to it, you know, and be considered a romance, but it's still a great story.
Right. And
Well,
it's all
that's what it's all about.
Mhm.
You know, writing a great story.
Yeah.
Now you have 60 something, 68 titles. Is that what you said? That's a lot of books. So Tony Bonita, who's one of our regular viewers, you may know her. She's in Florida.
I do.
You do? Okay.
I
Tony knows
do.
everybody in books. She said, Take Me to Heart and Brawn are two of your best books.
Oh, well, thank you, Miss Tony.
So tell us about those two and then bring us up to the present day.
Oh, wait, before you start on that, I've got to include what Angela Anderson said. She said, Braun is next level. Deborah,
okay.
Braun is next level.
Next level, okay. Now, is that one book or a series?
Actually, Braun is a part of my I always like to tell a story where I am challenging myself. So I started a series, the ABC series, where I'm telling short romances that are not your typical romantic stories. Braun is the story of a man who finds himself homeless. And one day in the library, runs into a woman who he had been previously attracted to. And suddenly they start catching up, but he doesn't want to let her know what his situation is. And it's about that community of people whose lives have diverged from what has been expected of them, but they are still out here fighting for what they believe in. And Braun fought for love.
Okay, well, because I was writing down the title because I didn't want to forget it, because since Tony Bonita and Angela Anderson recommended it, I'm going to add it to my order list for my next book order so I can read it. Now, do I need to read the A and the C too? Or is B for Braun? Is that?
B is for Braun.
Okay.
You do not need to read them together or in order. They are very unique stories. They stand on their own.
Okay.
They are very quick reads. So, you're not going to get 900 pages. That's going to take you a while. I guarantee you can finish it in a weekend.
Okay. All right.
Well, I like quick reads, depending on what I'm trying to do. But if the book is good, I don't mind getting lost in it now.
Well, with my One Love short story series, I've challenged myself to give you a short story where you feel like you have just had a 5-course meal and ended it with the best dessert that you could have ever imagined.
Yes,
well, that's no way to describe a book.
Right.
Well, I'm definitely I'm adding that to the list. I'm not a big romance reader. I'm not a romance snob. I just there's so many books to read in so little time. And so I try to, and then I'm in 2 book clubs and I have the show. And so I'm like, I have so many to be read books that I really shouldn't add. But when you're a book lover, you're always adding books. It doesn't matter how many books you have.
Yeah.
There's always more that you can get. And even if you don't get to them right away, you can look at them and see that they're there. So they're waiting. They're calling you.
I'm a firm believer that books are just like shoes. Every woman should have as many as she wants.
I'm stealing that from you.
Yeah, I just bought some shoes. So online. I normally don't buy shoes online, but because the fit, I buy clothes. I buy most of my clothes online. I would say 80% of them, but shoes are a little bit different. And sometimes they don't work, but then sometimes they do work. And I bought shoes online that they didn't work for me, but I gave them to somebody else. I've done that with other things, especially
like a book. It might, some books work, some books
but shoes cost more.
I don't know, with the price of books going up these days, you
They
never know.
have gone up.
They're getting expensive, but it's the paper. Remember, there was a paper shortage a couple years ago.
Yeah.
And you know, everything was kind of at a halt. We couldn't get anything
Yeah.
for a while.
Right.
And I guess after that, the price went up. They said, just in case, you know, we have to make sure this doesn't happen again.
Yeah,
I
because the
find it
hardcovers used to be
fascinating.
25,
I
and
find
now
it
they're 30
fascinating
or more.
when you consider, you know, with the influx of ebooks, they're almost expensive now as your paper books.
Yes, and it's digital. It's digital.
Mhm.
There's
It
no
makes no
trees that have
sense.
to be killed. So I don't know why they're so expensive. The ebook, but I read I read the actual either paperback or hardcover. I was reading Kindle for a while, but then I switched back to paper. I just something about it. It's more real.
Mhm.
And at some point, I am gonna start listening to books. Rhonda told me how great it is, and other people have said it's great, but I haven't made that journey yet. I tried it
No,
once.
yeah.
It wasn't. Maybe it has to be the right book and the right circumstance. When I tried it, I would fall asleep. Like within a few minutes. Maybe I waited too late in the evening, and it just will lull me to sleep. But in your car, if you do a lot of commuting, that's a good way to do it. But
That's a great way to do
I
it.
don't do a lot of
Yes.
commuting, so my trips are generally short. So
I don't know. In my car, I'm gonna listen to an audio book, but I live in the DMV.
right, so you're in your car
An
a
audio
lot.
book. I go crazy.
Yeah,
So
here being on 45 is where you spend a lot of time. If you have to get on Interstate 45, that's the bugbear.
so now you said you've written 68 books, so it means you've been writing for quite a while. What are you seeing? What do you see as some of the biggest changes in the industry, especially when it comes to the art of writing?
I think some of the biggest changes that I've seen, and I think we will continue to see, is who publishing determines are the literary favorites.
Good one.
At one time, Black women, we were easily dismissed. Our books were not given consideration. Then we became the darlings of the publishing industry. And then that shift went to men and male writers. And then that shift then went to Asian writers. And I think we will always see a shift in who the publishing industry deems should be the darlings of the moment. Um, you know,
Yeah, that's a good way to describe it, because that does come and go. It changes. It's never the same. It
it's
never,
never the same.
it never stays stable. You'll be hot for a few years, 5 maximum generally, and then it shifts. I've noticed now there's a lot of African writers,
Mm-hmm.
males and females,
Females.
more than I've ever seen before,
Right.
in a variety of genres.
Mm-hmm.
So I don't know if that's a new hot group, but I'm seeing that a lot more than 5 years ago.
Mm-hmm. And I think when you look at it overall, there's a greater acceptance of the stories of others. Wherein it was very difficult for an author of color to get published and then to have their books recognized. More of that is happening now than when I first started. Um, you'll see libraries are starting to rethink how they shelve their books. Um, a lot of them have gotten away from the African American section. They're
Yeah.
just putting the books on the shelf in the genres wherever they belong.
I've always looked at that two different ways, because on one hand, I used to only want to find the African American books, so I liked the fact that they were in one section. However, I kind of resented the fact that they were just kind of lumped together.
Right.
Like if I'm looking for, let's say, an academic read, and sometimes it's right next to, let's say, the street fiction or the urban fiction or something. It was just all mixed together. Just because it was a Black author, it
Right.
was in one.
Which
So
is
I
right
think
next to a religious faith book.
yes, right next to the
Which is-
religious faith.
Yeah, which is
Exactly.
right next to a memoir.
Mhm.
So
And I think one of the problems, you know, it was a rock and a hard place for African American authors because we might have had our own space, which was usually in the back
it
of
was
the
in the back of the
bookstore,
bookstore.
which meant that other readers weren't going to search us out.
Right.
So a lot of non readers of color never found us. So
Mhm.
it didn't allow authors to expand their
The
readership.
readership, right. You know.
You know,
And
now
no,
that
Well, no, part of that is because, and it's so funny that non-Black people would see a book with a Black face on it and just automatically assume that it wasn't for them,
Right.
that they wouldn't be welcome to read it, or they'd be looked at funny if they wanted to read it. And we welcome other people to read our books.
Exactly. You know, I always found it amusing that, you know, non-Black readers could easily say, well, I cannot relate to a Black couple having a romance, but we're okay with a shapeshifter and you know, a dragon and a woman having a romance that they could relate to, but they couldn't relate to us having a romance.
They could relate to something that wasn't human.
Exactly.
But they couldn't relate to us who are humans, except for we have a little bit more melanin, and that's it. And so I don't know how you can say you can't relate to a Black couple falling in love. That's so basic. I mean, everybody falls in love at some point. And so how
I
can
can
you not relate?
appreciate that, you know, there were those readers who were willing to say, oh, you know, let me give this a try to dispel that I can't relate ideology. You know, they learned that, you know, we love just like everybody else loves. We hurt just like everybody else hurts. We have the same trials and tribulations trying to find love. So.
And you know, the paradox or the irony, I don't know which was the correct word, is that we're expected to be able to relate to their love stories.
And that's all we've ever gotten. So,
yeah,
you know.
So, you know, make it make sense, you know. Just doesn't make sense. And you know, I was thinking when you were talking about that the African American section was always in the back of the bookstore. It's really like a metaphor for the back of the bus. It's like the same kind of dismissive positioning that you're in the back. And then now during Black History Month, they bring a few titles to the front and put them on the front table in Barnes and Nobles. That's the store that I go to in my area when I go to a bookstore, but I normally don't go to a lot of bookstores because I can order books myself from you know, as a retailer. But
what I have loved most about the romance community in particular, and Black authors especially, is that we are always willing to get into the fray and fight for what we know is right. We write for great stories. We write great stories and we're willing to fight to have those stories told. So, you know, and when we don't do it alone, I don't think there are many Black women authors who can say that this journey has been very solitary for them. You know, there's always someone who went ahead of us who's reaching out a hand to pull us along with them. You know, I always give credit to Beverly Jenkins and Brenda Jackson, Jacqueline Thomas, who were wonderful mentors when I started out. You know, you could call, you could ask questions, you could send messages, and they never, ever, ever turned their backs on us and said, well, I can't help you. They were the first ones to offer assistance. And, I have watched authors that I started with and authors who came behind me, and we continue that pattern each and every day.
Beautiful. I think that's the way it should. We should be reaching back and helping the people who came behind us. I mean, I have a whole tribe of authors who I love. They know that they can call me right now, and I'm going to help them. And I have a few authors that I can call and say, I need your advice on something. And I love that, because when I get off the phone with them, I'm like, oh, okay, I'm about to go write a book. I wasn't thinking about it. I called them.
You know what? We are an amazing community. We really are. It's a sisterhood with a few brothers tossed in, and we know we have each other's back.
Now we only have a few minutes left, and we want to talk about your new book. In the time we have left, Colton's Blizzard Hideout. So, did you have a copy of your book there, the new one? Okay, Colton's Blizzard Hideout. Okay, and you do you write under Deborah, Fletcher, Mello all the time?
I do, all the time, all the time.
Okay, so that's how if people want to distinguish. I don't know if there are any other Deborah Mellos, because there's a lot of people with the same names. But Deborah Fletcher Mello is definitely a way to stand out. So tell us about Colton and the Blizzard and the Hideout.
Colton's Blizzard Hideout is actually one of Harlequin's popular Colton family series. It's book number 8 in the Owl Creek family line of 12 books. 12 authors are invited to write one book about a family member, and we have a continuity theme that runs through all of the books as the mystery unfolds and plays out to the end. I was the very first African American author to be invited to write for the Colton series. The Colton series has always been very light and bright. I was, in fact, my very first book, the couple was white, and I was very, oh, okay, I can do that, not a problem. But I've also always pushed to see a little color. So you're getting more interracial stories being told in the Colton series. And I hope one day they will actually have an African American Colton series that will play out. But it's been a lot of fun. The authors that I write with have all been very welcoming. And Colton's Blizzard Hideout, Lizzie Colton is the sister. She's got 3 brothers, 3 or 4 brothers, but she's the only girl. She's kidnapped, and she is rescued by the most delectable drink of chocolate that you will ever meet.
Delectable drink of chocolate. I like that.
Yes. And he becomes her hero. She's traumatized, and she knows that he can protect her and show her how to protect herself. And once he saves her, she then becomes a woman stalked, and he's a man looking to capture whoever is doing harm to her. So
Okay, so when you're part of a group, we got 1 minute left. When you're part of a group that's writing like a series like this, do you all collaborate while you're all writing? In
what
terms
happens
of
is, at the beginning, we're all given what's called the book Bible. And the book Bible literally lays out the entire series from start to finish. And you're given your characters for your story. And you essentially know where your story falls in line with all the other books and what that story is going to be. As an author, you then have to get very creative and make it your own.
Okay.
And then, we're always back and forth. Well, I plan to have my character do this. How is that going to work with your character in the next book? Or would your character have done this in the first book because I'm going to make him do this in this book? And so there's a lot of back and forth, and we work well together to ensure that we do have a good continuity flowing through.
And so the characters get to make cameos in the different books then.
Correct. Because they're all related. There's
Okay.
things and cousins, and in this particular series, her parents divorced, mothers were twins, married brothers, then separated and changed partners.
Oh.
What you can expect with a Colton book is a lot of drama.
I want to ask more, but we're at 9 o'clock now.
We are actually 9:01, 8:01. So, Deborah, thank you so much for being a guest. Show your book cover one more time so people know what your latest book is called, Colton's Blizzard Hideout.
Yeah.
And we really enjoyed our time with you. Glad we could get you to come on the show and continue writing. And we're in agreement with you about the 68 more books.
Oh, well, anytime. Anytime. It's been a pleasure. I am honored. Thank you so much for inviting me.
Thank you for being. You have a great night.
You too. Bye-bye now.
Good night. Okay, we have Deborah's a longtime writer. I never know how many books all these authors publish. I just know they have quite a few, but I don't know. They always surprise me with the number of books. So our next author also has multiple books. So I don't know how many she has either, but she's been writing for a while. And Jessica Tillis is a multi-published author. And sometimes I see her name is Jessica Wright Tillis, and Wright with a W. And welcome to Black Authors Matter TV. Uh-oh, we need to unmute. We still aren't unmuted.
How's it going?
Okay.
That's better. That was right you.
Listen, well, you know what? Okay, so Wright is my government name.
Okay.
Wright is my maiden name. Tillis is my ex-husband's name. Because I started writing under Tillis while I was married. So
okay.
And I like him, so I kept the name.
Okay, well, it's better to like him than not like than hate him. But welcome to the show.
Thank you.
Congratulations on your latest book, Indiscretion. So I think that's it behind you, but can you hold it to the screen so people can really see the cover? Indiscretions, and she's got they're at dinner or lunch or something.
Well,
and
you know what?
Under the table.
Well, it's very spicy, right?
Okay.
It's hot and nasty. Good hot nasty. That's what it is.
Okay. All right. And it came out in June.
Yeah, June 7th, it released, and I'm getting some really good reviews. I've met already face-to-face with a couple of book clubs, specifically Sweet Soul Sisters out of Maryland, and they absolutely love it. Y'all, listen, it took me 9 years to write this book. I started writing it in 2015, and it wasn't Indiscretions, it was called Trespassing, and it didn't have as many characters, but it felt like old Jessica, right? It felt like Jessica from 2000. I just wanted something different. And I wanted to show my growth as a writer. I hadn't put anything out in a while. So, when you're gone for a while and you come back, you don't want to come back as the same. You kind of want to be a little grown up, right? And so I wrote and rewrote this book about 12 different times. And then finally, one of my clients and good friend, Ann Jeffries, said, listen, it's time to put that dog down. I don't like that term because I'm a dog lover, but I knew what she meant. In other words, write it and put it out and move on. And so that's what I did, and I'm really pleased with it. Really pleased with it.
Well, the cover is really good. It tells a story without speaking. You know, I tell people, especially new authors with their covers, you don't need to tell the story on your cover, but your cover needs to make a statement.
Yes.
That the reader can surmise in one image. Sometimes people, they put a whole bunch of images.
Oh,
on,
I can't
like
stand that.
8
It
different
drives me
people.
nuts.
No, that's, you don't, no, that creates confusion for the reader, and it looks junky. That's not the way a cover should look. And if you want to know how a cover should look, all you need to do is go look at books.
Yeah,
look at published books.
You know, listen, this cover, I designed like 3 or 4 different covers before I created this one. And that's what I do, is design book covers. I can design a cover for anybody else and be, here you go. But when it comes to my books, I'm never satisfied. I've got to design 50 million different covers. And then I said, well, I'll just use this for something else. So I literally have like hundreds of book covers that I've designed that I can, you know, use for something else. But yeah, this cover here says indiscretion. Her leg rubbing up against his leg. Yeah.
And you don't see their faces. So
now this book
that's
is
the imagination.
It came out in paperback. So I've always wanted a hardback book. I knew I would never be published by a major because I like self-publishing, right? And so, you know, hardback books to print are expensive.
They are.
This book was $10.84
to print.
Yeah. But I can see I need to move the words over. But on the back of it, I have my daddy's face. And it says, thank you for 24 great years. Love, Jessica Tillis. And I just wanted, you know, I feel like I made it with a hardback cover.
Yeah, I have one of my children's books is in hardcover and paperback, and it is expensive. But people will pay more. What, you know, when I go out with my books and I have them both, a lot of people will pay more for the hardcover, especially if they're giving it to somebody.
For hardcover books. And you can, many people expect to pay like $25-$30 depending on the book.
They do.
Okay, well, that's good to know, because instead I could just sell this directly from my website. Because one of the things I really want to do is, and here we're in the business of publishing, is just make my website my hub, where everything Jessica Tillis, you could buy all of my books, download my ebooks. I've got a couple of audio books out there, download that. And so that's what I'm focusing on doing, because I'm going to tell you something. Y'all know, Gwen, you know, KDP and Ingalls, you ain't going to make, okay, we any children listening, you ain't going to make sugar honey iced tea.
KDP, you can.
But it depends. You have to put a high price tag on your book cover, because by the time they take the 40%, and then depending on your page count, whether it's paperback or hard, well, they don't do dust jacket. They do the laminate.
No, they don't do dust jacket.
And then they deduct the print cost.
Yeah, well, with KDP, they just give you a flat rate and you charge what the market will bear.
Yeah, well, you might be able to pay your electric bill with one of them.
So yeah, the royalties, sometimes you can. You can pay, depending, I had recently, because one of my books is on going to college debt free with scholarships. That's my most successful book. And last month, somebody ordered 45 copies of that book, like at one fell swoop. I normally sell them year round. Just every month, most of my book sales are that book or one of my novels. Although, some of my other books, I'll sell a few here and there. But year round, my debt-free college book is the bestseller. But sometimes I don't know if it was a school. That's one drawback about KDP. The positive is your book is available everywhere to anybody worldwide. But those customers are not your customers. They are Amazon's customers. So you don't know who's buying your books.
And that's the hard part about selling through Amazon. It's even though it's better to sell through your website because you know who's purchasing from you, you can add them to your email list and so forth. The wider distribution is sometimes going to be with Amazon. So I would just say sell on every platform you can.
And selling in person is good too. Because
of course,
if you
sell a lot of my books in person. I would rather sell. I'll just take them everywhere I go. And if I want to give somebody a quick discount, I can do that. I don't have to type anything up.
Right. That's true.
Listen, I'm old school. I keep boxes of books in the trunk of my car, and I keep my bookmarks in my purse. And if I'm in the grocery store standing behind somebody, excuse me, do you read books? And they'll say, yeah. I said, here you go. And they say, oh, I've already got your books. I'm like, yeah, what's that? And next thing you know, I said, I have the new book in the car. You want one? Sometimes I just, be nice and give it.
You can't be shy. And sell books. I tell people that when they come to the festival, for those who are out there looking, this is an established author. She has multiple titles. We haven't gotten to the number yet. But for those who are going to be at the book festival and you're going to be at your table selling your books, you cannot be bashful and shy and just sit there and think the book is going to sell itself. It will not sell. You have to sell your book.
Don't be mean either, sitting at the table.
Listen, let me tell you, I went to the National Book Club Conference in August, and Deborah Owsley was next to me, and Sylvia Hubbard was on the opposite side of her. And I hadn't done this in 9 years, y'all. Okay, so I felt like a new author. I felt like I didn't know what to do. So I was sitting there. Deborah said, "Get your, you know what up." Get from behind that table. I said, "Oh, okay, yes, ma'am."
Yeah, you have to engage with your audience. You have
to do that and put candy on your table.
Yes, now, I haven't done that so far. I think Rhonda had some eateries at her table when we went to the Harlem Book Fair.
Eateries. I mean,
that sounds like cakes and pies and whatnot.
I do sell a book basket that has fresh baked cookies because we live in the same area. You got to get you some cookies for your table.
No.
But yeah, I make a basket with cookies and shea butter in it because I have a house full of entrepreneurs. So I put the basket together. And when I was at the Harlem Book Festival, a lady came up to the table. She goes, "What are these?" I said, "Okay, well, this is what you do. After you take your shower, you take the shea butter, go ahead and moisturize. And then get your book, read your book, and then nibble on some cookies while you read the good story." And she said, "You know what? Just because you explained it like that, I'm buying this basket."
But having something there will sell it. Now at the NBCC, I'm if you follow me on Facebook, I sew. On Saturdays, I get in my sewing room. That's it. Don't call me. Don't say nothing. I'm in there from 6 a.m. up until I hear live from New York. It's Saturday night. Then I go to bed. So
now, did you make what you have on?
Yes.
That's cute.
That's cute.
That's very cute. Turn around. Let's see the back.
Jessica, you
nice.
My mom taught me to sew when I was 8 years old. Really quick, I asked for a pair of Gloria Vanderbilt jeans, And she said, okay, well, let's go to Woodward and Lothrop's because that was open then. And she saw the price of those jeans. She said, no, ma'am, no, ma'am, no, ma'am, no, ma'am. It was Landover Mall. And she said, come on. We went to the House of Fine Fabrics. She said, she took me where the jean fabrics. She said, you got this and you got that, all the different types of jeans. And I'm like, well, what? Oh, she gonna make me some jeans. Because my mom was, ooh, heck of a seamstress. Then we went to Sears and she bought me my very first Singer sewing machine and she taught me how to sew. Those jeans, they were some raggedy, messed up stuff, but I was proud of them.
You had some Gordon Gartrell jeans.
They ain't fit worth nothing. But she said, okay, that's all right. So the next weekend we made something else and we just kept making and making and making. And then, you know, I eventually, you know, as teenagers, I didn't want to sew nothing. I lost interest. Then as an adult, I got back into sewing. And then as when my mom died, she died in 2007. Right after that, I just felt like sewing again, and being in her sewing room made me feel close to my mother. And I've been just every Saturday, that's me and mom's time. And so, but fast forward, I make a little bit of everything. I've learned how to make shoes and handbags. So I had these leather satchels that I made. And so I took them to the National Book Club conference. And I have a total of 12 books, but I think I only took about 5 and I put them in the bag and I said, you buy all 5 of my books, you can get this leather bag. It's real leather too. You can get this leather bag for free. And they said, well, what if I don't want all your books because I like the bag. We can buy a bag for $50. So I sold out of my books and I had like a few bags left over. And I just said, here, Deborah, he gave one to Mark Lacey, gave one to Sylvia, you know.
I want a bag.
I'll get you a bag. Send you a bag. Inbox me your address. I'll mail you a bag. You too, Gwen.
I would like to see what it looked like because do you have any of your satchels?
Okay, you gonna hold on a second?
Yeah, I would like to see what it looks like.
Oh Lord, okay.
Because if you remember, Rhonda, when we were in New Orleans, that couple that had the table beside us, they had satchels, but I think they got theirs from Ghana. I think he said
they did.
They didn't make that, but they may have made. I don't know about the earrings. They may have made the earrings. I don't know, but I think they got most of their inventory from Ghana or from other places.
That's
that is cute. That's cute.
Oh, okay. I see you.
Put your book in there.
Okay. So you can put other things in there.
Yeah. I have I listen, my sewing room looks like a fabric store. I'll take a day trip and go to Allentown, Pennsylvania to the fabric warehouse, buy a whole bunch of fabric and come back. And so yeah, I just that did really well. So I realized that okay, if you got something else to entice people, they'll buy your books and they want a little free gift.
Yeah, it's all kinds of things that you can do when you go out. I will sometimes have little small like things for like $5, little planners, little that kind of stuff. Because for the $5 people.
Yeah,
I'm bringing.
I mean, it's just. And we all want something free and a nice little gift. And I learned that from Deborah Owsley because, in fact, I had sold out of the bags.
Oh, Deborah Owsley, I sell bookmarks, right? See, right there.
So this is my bookmark. So I call my writing compelling, provocative drama. Sometimes erotica turns people off. And then on the back, I have my little bio and stuff. But, so I ran out of the bags, and a lady came and said, I want one of those bags. And so Deborah sitting over there ear hustling, right? Deborah Owsley ear hustling. She said, she'll mail you a bag. I was like, yeah, I'll mail you a bag, no problem. And so she bought all the last remaining of the books. And when I got back home, I mailed the bag to her. I guess she got it. I ain't heard nothing.
Well, if you have some inventory of those, that's something I might want to get for my sister. She doesn't watch the show because she's not really online that much, you know. But she loves bags. She loves purses and bags, but that's a one of a kind.
Yeah, I gave them every.
You won't be able to go in a store and get it.
Yeah, so. It's your birthday. Here you go. Put a little bow and my friends. Happy birthday. But I just love making things. I'm just, just a creative person. So yeah. I was listening to Deborah yesterday on her Zoom session. She was saying, and she was talking about her bookmarks and stuff. She gave me an idea about doing an erotic bookmark coloring with an erotic image.
Oh. Why are you giving naughty ideas? I see you watching. Why are you giving naughty ideas?
It's like Gwen writing that down.
Yeah.
Yeah, well,
I ain't fooling nobody.
I actually was looking at my phone, but I am going to write it down so I won't forget, because the book festival is coming up in 2 days and my brain is already like on overload. So whatever happens tonight, I may not remember any of it. So that's why I have to write it down.
I did your book festival years ago. I think it was around 2004. Was it in a convention center?
Yeah, the first two were in a convention center.
I went to either the first one or the second one. I sure did in Houston.
Oh, okay. Okay. See, we have so many authors have crossed our path over 17 years that but I know I've been connected with you on Facebook forever.
Yes.
So yeah, because I see probably something on it.
That you and she go a long way back. We go a long way back too. We go all the way back to the listserv.
Yes.
Yeah, I didn't
Yahoo group and
yeah. That's how I met you, and I met William Frederick Cooper, and a few other people. All of Angelique Henderson was on there, and we were
we old school. We old heads.
Now, where was the listserv? Where did you do it?
You remember Yahoo groups? They still have them.
Yeah, they still have them.
Okay, I didn't know. See, the only Yahoo group I was in was a group about cancer. When my brother got cancer, and I was trying to just get all the information that I could.
Yeah. And
that's the only group I ever joined on Yahoo. But I didn't know they had writing groups. I didn't know they had, I could have been on there pitching the store and all kinds of stuff.
Yeah, well, we all knew about your store. We all knew about
Kush City.
Oh, okay.
Absolutely.
And I could have been on there.
The reason why I'm an author today is because of those listservs, because someone posted something in the group. Yes. I don't remember who it was. I'm going to just say it was Jessica. But somebody posted something in the group saying that this publishing company was looking for new authors. And I went and I looked up the publishing company, and I went back and said, are you sure they're looking for me? They don't have no Black authors. He said, well, just try it anyway. Yeah. Tried, and they were the people who published Cheating in the Next Room, and that's what got my foot into the door.
It was A-Poo Yahoo group. A-Poo, Yasmin. What's Yasmin Coleman? A-Poo.
Yes, Yasmin.
It was A-P-O-O-O. So it was some kind of book club or something.
There was A-Poo. There was Chocolate Pages. I believe that was one.
Is Chocolate Pages still around? Seems like I see something.
I think it's still around.
I don't know if it's the same one on Facebook. Okay.
Yeah. And you can also have your own Yahoo group A lot of authors had their own Yahoo groups where their readers were, in their groups. Oh my goodness.
Wow, I didn't even know that was going on, because I spent so much time in the store and on the website shipping between people coming in the brick and mortar in the, during the day, and then we're in the back shipping books out to people who order online, because we did everything in the same facility.
Now, see, I didn't know Kush City was brick and mortar. I always thought you all were online.
Now, we started off online. 9 months later, after we grew out of our house, we moved into a retail strip center, but we didn't have a brick and mortar at first. We were just shipping, and that was the office part. Yeah. Then we said, but the storefront was a storefront with a nice window, and we said, well, why don't we had inventory, so we said, why don't we turn the front into a store? Then we get money coming in the front and going out the back when we're shipping. So we had the store from 2000 to 2010.
Wow, that's a long time.
10 years.
Yeah.
Yeah, and then we moved into more of the marketing side of things, and then we started did we still have the store when we started the festival?
Yes. Well, I don't know if you had the store, but you had Kush City.
Well, it's always been the same name.
Okay.
Oh wait, Tony Bonita just said there was also Raw. I remember reading
Raw
and writing.
You talking about
Raw reading and writing sisters.
Isn't it Raw Sisters?
Yeah. TC Royal.
TC Royal. I'm still, I'm still friends with her on Facebook.
Me too.
I tried to get her on the show. I just wanted to, because Raw Sisters, everybody was using Raw Sisters.
They were, listen.
It was big.
Yes. They were big. They were a big platform. Absolutely.
They were. So we've been gone a long way with a lot of the same people, still involved in this industry. And then, a lot of new people come in, and some come and go, and then some of the stalwarts are still around, and it continues to change. But what doesn't change is people who like to read, and they want to read good books. So there's an audience for people who want to read a good book, and that hasn't changed. So tell us a little. We only have 3 minutes left. These are going by fast tonight. Tell us a little bit about the storyline for Indiscretions. What is it about?
Well, Indiscretions basically is the story of 3 couples who, within their relationships, have had indiscretions, whether in the past or current. And a couple of those indiscretions are with each other's spouses or significant others.
Oh, okay.
And it all comes to a head. And it's 20 pages of sex. I'm just saying. And it's one chapter, it's like,
you said it comes to a head, and is it literally and figuratively? Is that what you're trying to say?
Yeah.
I know Rhonda normally doesn't expect me to say stuff like that, but it was in code. So people may not pick up on it.
Yes. It came to a head a lot in this book. Okay, Gwen, don't open that door for me to walk through.
Okay, is that your normal style of writing, or you said you wanted to do something a little more grown up?
I do write, I write contemporary fiction. Whatever I write, it's going to have some spice in it.
Okay.
I'm working on a murder mystery, and it's got a whole lot of spice in that. And then there are times when I can go really dark. I have stories that I haven't put out because I went so dark that I scared the bejesus out of me. But there's spice in there. So there's always going to be spice, because that's Jessica Tillis,
Okay.
And I don't want to change to a pen name and then have to rebrand that. And next thing I know, I'm going to have 50 different pen names. I won't know who I am anymore.
That's why I'm always just going to be Rhonda Lawson.
Yeah.
I'm Gwen Richardson everywhere. I'm Gwen Richardson everywhere.
Mhm.
So everywhere I go, that's who I am. And I'm not Gwendolyn, because that's not my name.
Okay.
My name is Guinevere, but I don't use that except on government documents.
There you
So
go.
I am Gwen Richardson everywhere. I don't use a middle initial. I don't use my maiden name or any of that. I just go by
Mhm.
Gwen Richardson. And you know, interestingly, when I type Gwen Richardson on Amazon, only my books come up. So,
Wow.
and when other people have done this, I don't think there's a lot of Gwen Richardson's writing, you know, with
I
books.
think I'm the only Jessica Tillis.
Yeah, your name is a little, Tillis is
Yeah.
less common than Richardson.
Well,
You know?
unfortunately, I'm not the only Rhonda Lawson.
No, you're not.
No.
And
But
apparently,
you're our Rhonda Lawson.
Yeah,
apparently there's more than
you're the Rhonda Lawson.
apparently there's more than one cheating in the next room, and apparently there's more than one trust. I'm
Yeah.
a little salty about that because that second cheating in the next room came after mine.
Oh, wow.
Oh, well, you know, you can't copyright titles.
I
No,
know,
you
I
can't.
know.
Yeah.
The indiscretions. I was so when I put it out real quick because I know my time is up. Donna Hill inboxed me. She said, "You know, one of my books is." Indiscretion." I said, "Yes, indeedy." I said, "Yes," because I love me some Donna Hill books. I said, "Yeah, I know."
Yeah. Well, thank you so much for being a guest on the show, Jessica. Like I said, we've been connected for many years, but we've never met virtually or in person. And well, we did, but I don't remember the festival because there were so many people there.
It was so long
It
ago.
was so long ago, and it was too many people. So, but I'm so glad you were able to come on the show, and
Thank
having you
you
and
for
Deborah
having me.
Mello the same night. That was very, very special because both of you have been around for, you know,
Mhm.
you've been in the industry, so you know you've made a footprint, and for other people to follow.
Well, thank you for having me. This was when I got your email, I was like, I made it to the big time. Gwen reached out to me. Yes. So thank you for having me.
You're welcome. Thank you so much for being on the show and continued success. I hope you continue to sell a whole bunch of books and bags. And I am going to reach out to you about the bag. I was serious
Okay.
about
Thank
that.
you. And the same to you and Rhonda. Thank you.
All right, we're gonna be
Okay.
in touch, girl.
Okay.
All right. That was Jessica Tillis. And she has a new book, Indiscretions. And it's great to have her on the show. So our final guest tonight is an author who's under the B.K. Royston Publishing umbrella. And Julia Royston's been on the show a few times, and several of her authors have been on the show. And Julia is always at the National Black Book Festival, and she will be there again this year. So she normally brings some of her authors with her, but I never know which one she's going to bring. But Michael Young is one that we invited to be on the show. And as soon as he turns on his camera and his audio, we'll be able to see and hear from him. Maybe he stepped away.
Oh well.
But in the meantime, for those who are coming to the festival before he comes on air, it starts Thursday night with a welcome reception. If you we don't take people at the door because we have to have the caterer with a number, but it starts Thursday night, this coming Thursday night at 7 with our welcome
Question
reception.
about that. Is it too late if people want to buy a ticket for Thursday night?
Well, we had to give the caterer a number. We had a little latitude in there for last minutes, but not much. So we can probably take 2 or 3 more people at the most.
Okay, so if you're listening and you want to come to the Thursday night event, you need to get in touch with Gwen as soon as possible.
Well, what they need to do is go on nationalblackbookfestival.com.
Yeah, go on to nationalblackbookfestival.com.
Click event tickets.
Yes.
And you need to get your ticket tonight if you want to still attend. So we can, if we need to add a couple numbers to our number for the caterer, we can do that.
And
Well,
Michael's here.
yeah, Michael's here.
Oh, yes, yes. I
Yeah.
finally got my camera to work. Hello.
Oh, okay. We were waiting on you to come on, so we just made some mention about the book festival. So, welcome to Black Authors Matter TV.
Oh, thank you. Thank you for having me.
Thank you
And
for being here.
you have a book, and I don't know what the genre is, but it came out in June apparently. So it's a new book.
Oh, yeah, yes, I do.
It's
Dark
called
Side of Desire.
The Dark Side of Desire. Do you
Yes.
have a copy of it?
Yes, ma'am. Yes, I do.
And so, what is it? A romance? Is it a mystery? Okay.
This urban fiction slash thriller
Okay.
slash erotica.
Oh, okay. Okay.
Triple genre.
Yes.
A little bit thrown. So it's not a romance.
No.
Okay.
No romance in this one.
Okay. Well, so the erotica, they're not romantically involved. It's just erotic.
Yeah, I'll
just
say it's
don't-
very adult themed.
Okay. Very adult. Okay. All right. So now, is this your first book, Michael?
No, ma'am. This is my 7th.
Your seventh book.
Yes.
Okay. Well, congratulations on that.
No,
And
thank you.
are all of your titles in the similar genre, or do you do a variety of writing?
It's a little, I do have some that's considered romance, but most of them they're all urban fiction. I have 3 of them that's considered thriller. The rest of them, I guess you would say romance, but
Okay.
all of them are adult themed.
Oh, okay. All right. And what led you to write in this particular genre, or what made you release your very first book when you first started writing?
Actually, it was my wife. I
Okay.
just started jotting stuff down, and I showed it to her, and she said, "You ought to make this into a book." I said, "I don't know how to write books," but she said, "Just try." Then I've read many books, so I knew the format how to write it into a book, but then I had no idea what to do with it, and I talked to certain people, and she talked to certain people. They said, "Well, you need to talk to Julia Royston." I said, "Okay, I'll talk to her." Then by the time I got to a third person, they said the same name. I have to find this lady,
Okay.
and I sent her a copy of it. I said, "Is this worthy enough to be published?" She said, "Let's do it."
Okay, come on, Julia. You are famous. You have people just talking you up in rooms that you're not even standing in. That's a blessing.
Well, Julia, every time I talk to her, she's published 100 more books. It seems like for different people, every time I talk to her, the number's gone up by 100. I'm exaggerating, but only a little. So, so are all of your books through B.K. Royston?
Yes, Royal Media.
Royal, which is an
Yes,
arm of
yes,
them.
yes.
Okay, well, I didn't realize that she had multi-published authors under her umbrella that had published a bunch of books
Yes.
under her umbrella. I didn't realize that. So I'm always learning something new about B.K. Royston Publishing.
She's amazing.
So
Yeah, she is.
when did your first book come out?
Came out 2017.
Okay, so you're basically doing a book a year, more or less.
Yes.
Okay. And how's it going?
It's going pretty good. I've had 2. I get compliments all the time, but I've had 2 really amazing compliments. I have several people said once they've started reading my books, they just couldn't put them down. They had to finish it. And
Mhm.
another compliment I got is from a woman. She said she was reading the first book, and when she wished one of the characters in it was real so she can beat him up. That was just a thrill to me that she connected with this character so much that she hated her and she wanted to beat her up. So that made me knew I was doing my
And
job.
that people were really connecting with your characters. Is that something that you've worked hard on? Is character development?
Yes. With all my books, I wanted to feel very relatable. That either you can understand the character, you hate the character, or there may be some people in there that you know or you see yourself in them.
So
Nice.
are all these books standalone?
No, the first book has a connection to my 2 more books. Wildest Dreams and Wildest Dreams 2. Then I have another series to protect and serve, City and Panic, to protect and serve, Blood Alley. Those are detective books.
Okay. Okay. So, what is your background in law enforcement or detective
No, it's
work?
not. Actually, I'm a assembly worker for Ford.
Oh, okay. So this is really a departure from what you do day to day.
Yes, yes.
Mhm.
But being on the assembly line, I have time to let my mind wander and come up with different ideas. So that's where I get my creativity from just, I hate to say it, but doing mindless work. So I can just come up with things.
Well, writing is not mindless. That takes lots of time.
Yes, yes.
It takes lots of mind power.
So, do you ever get ideas from your fellow Ford workers?
Some I do. I may
Or
bounce some
support
ideas off of them, but if
for
everything they got,
storylines or characters or
some characters I combine some people that I know, but I could have a TV show if I wrote some of the things that go on in that building.
And how long have you done that? How long have you been with Ford?
I've been at Ford 24 and a half years.
Wow.
Okay, so that's close to retirement time, I guess.
Yes, I got 5.5 more to go, and I'm getting out of there.
Okay. Okay. Now for your book that you have out now, tell us a little bit about the storyline and
The
the
Dark
main
Side of
characters,
Desire.
protagonist and antagonist.
Dark Side and Desire. That's my dog barking.
We heard it.
What kind of dog do you have?
I have a rat terrier, and she's
Okay.
being real cranky right now because she can't see me.
Yeah, terriers bark a lot.
Yes. The book's about most of my books are about women. There's a woman who has new neighbors move in, and they're very curious neighbors. She always sees people come visit them, male, female. They always have a lot of company, but she never sees the company leave. The next time she sees them, it's always somebody different and never sees them leave. But when she comes home from work, she always checks the news, and there's news reports of murders that's happening that's close by her. And she's starting to wonder, are my new neighbors killers? Then she really starts to wonder when she does see her male neighbor take out a black bag. And she wonders, okay, is this a body in there? But also, her neighbors are exhibitionists and they like to have fun times outside with each other and with the people they bring home. And that sparks a curiosity where she's watching to see what they're doing in more ways than one.
Yeah, so that really is triple genre. You have a lot going on in this story.
Yes.
So where are you finding these ideas, young man?
I have a very vivid imagination and a wild imagination. I may start at one point and it just expands like a balloon into a whole different world. And I'm able to put that down on paper. And I love for people to come to see what world I created.
Love it.
Mhm.
You okay?
Who, me? Oh, am I doing that? Am I zoning out? You know, I'm operating on my sleep patterns are off, and
Trust me,
I
I understand.
I just hope that that during the weekend I don't fall asleep while I'm sitting there at the table.
Don't fall asleep on the people this weekend.
No,
They need
I hope not. It's just but no, I was just thinking actually about the plot that you gave when you said they were exhibitionists, and is the neighbor watching them? Like, can
Yes,
she
yes.
just hear them like through the fence, or can she see them from like an upstairs window?
Her house is right next door to him, and she her bedroom window looks right down into their backyard. So sometimes like to start things in the backyard that lead into the house.
Okay, so they know somebody can see them. So
I get
Yes.
too nervous to do anything outside because I'm the first time like the neighbor can see me from upstairs. I'm not doing anything. I would never want to do it. Guess if you're an exhibitionist, you kind of want them to see you.
Yeah,
yeah,
that
that's the
seems to
whole
drive
point, I
them
guess.
more.
Yeah. I guess for shock value or attention, I guess some people just need it more than
Right.
others.
Yeah.
So, but that's interesting. So there were 2 series that you have. Tell us about what those plots are for the 2 series you said you have.
The first book is started out. I have that with me.
Oh, you have it. Okay.
Yes.
All right.
Okay.
What is
It's Heaven
that?
is Worth the Pain.
Oh,
That's a group of girls who each one of them individually changes things in their lives, whether it be different men, different jobs, uh, careers, and how they mesh together. It's more of a friends book and how they deal with the men in their lives. And the main character in it, she decides she wants to become change from factory work over to the business world. So she gets a job at a modeling agency as a executive, which leads to a new man in her life. And this man kind of enhances the lives of all the people that surround her and her friends.
Mm.
So in Wildest Dreams, people love the characters in the first book so much that they told me I need to continue with them. So that's where Wildest Dreams comes in.
okay.
I start off with a contractor who does a job for an actress that is just his favorite. That's his favorite celebrity in the world, and she's downsizing. And they start having a relationship together. He finds out she likes him just as much as he likes her, but he can't really deal with her lifestyle. So the main character in the first book, the woman, is an old high school sweetheart of his. So they reconnect, but now the celebrity won't leave him alone. She wants all the attention, and he's trying to deal with his crush,
Mm.
his new crush, and his sweetheart
His
crush.
old crush.
Yes.
Now, it
Okay.
sounds like you write from a female point of view quite often.
I do. I do. It,
Okay. So how do you get into the mind of a female?
well, I guess it's from all my coworkers, my wife, my sister, my
You bounce
nieces.
ideas off of them.
I'm sorry, I couldn't hear you.
So you bounce ideas off of them.
Yes. I do. Mainly my wife. She's the first one. I
Okay.
hit her with an idea. This sound good. Then once I get so much written, I let her read it. Does this sounds good? Does it need more? So she's my first stopping point. If it doesn't make it past her, it doesn't go any further.
Well, that's nice that you have that.
Yes.
You
Great
know.
partnership.
Yes.
Yeah, and it sounds like she's very encouraging as well.
She
Now, is
is.
she a big reader?
She is. She is.
So she can. It's helpful if you read a lot to give
Yes.
people
Yes.
advice on what they're writing, because then you're comparing it to what all the work that you've read in the past. And there is a pattern to books. There's certain elements of a book that need to be in there. I mean, people can alter the plots and things like that, but every book needs a beginning, a middle, and end. And there needs
Yes.
to be arcs in there to keep the story moving,
It, that's something I try to do. My books aren't real long. The read time for one of my books is maybe a half hour, an hour and a half to maybe an hour and 45 minutes. But
For the
every
whole book, does the person
yeah,
have to be a speed reader, or is it just
They're
not
just
that
shorter
long?
books. They're like more like
it's just shorter
novellas.
books. I don't
It
really
didn't
like to
look
have drawn
that
out
short to
books.
me. How long?
Hold that
How,
book back up. Hold
yeah,
that book
hold the
back
book up, because maybe I've got a different impression. Show from the side. Okay, all right. Now, yeah.
That book
A
looks a little
person
bit
can read
longer
that.
than my novella, though.
Well, I like to call them mini novels.
Okay.
It's something I want to hold your attention for maybe 2 hours.
Okay.
But every chapter, I try to make it interesting. I don't
Mm.
want to have any lulls in the book, like, oh, I'm sorry, I'm so sick of
A
this
lot of
character.
descriptions.
Yes,
Well, there's a place for shorter books now.
Mhm.
There's
Yeah.
a lot of people just don't have time, and with so much social media and so much going on, people don't
Distraction.
have really, yeah, they don't have really
Mhm.
long attention spans anymore. So
yes,
sometimes a shorter story is good. My first couple of books were long. I started writing shorter books just so I can tap into that market that likes the shorter books. So I'm not going
yes.
to stay writing the shorter books. The book I have in my head right now that I'm going to start writing whenever I have some doggone time. It's called me a long book.
And when is that gonna be, Rhonda?
Might be 30. No, it's coming. It'll probably be 20, maybe late 2025 or early 2026. You will see this book. That's all I'm gonna say.
Okay, now is this the book that you're thinking of? Is it gonna be based on one of the others or some totally different?
Oh, something totally different.
Okay. Right.
Though I am gonna probably write a novella prior to then that's gonna be shorter.
Okay. So all of your books, Michael, are similar length.
Yes, yes.
Okay. So I can see how a lot of people are looking for shorter stories.
Mm-hmm.
That's a whole story and not a
Yes.
short story. You know what I mean?
I think that's the trick. It's nothing wrong with writing short stories or novellas or mini novels, as you call them. But people have to, if you're going to write those types of stories, they have to feel like they've read an entire story.
Yes.
They don't want to feel left hanging at the end. And so I think that's a talent that not everybody
It is.
has. They're able to do that and write a full story in a few pages. You're doing really well.
No, thank you. I
Mhm.
have been told my books are very interesting. They just feel like you said, like it's a whole novel. There's so much that happens within a short amount of time, but it's not overwhelming.
Mhm.
Yeah,
They
that is a talent.
Yeah, thank you.
That doesn't, not everybody can write a short story that's really a whole story that's not too long. That I've only really read one that I can think of, and I think it was somebody that was on this show. It's been a while back. I think it was somebody that was on this show in the early days of the show. I can't remember the name of the book. It was based in New Orleans or something like that. But it was a short story. It was a short book, like maybe 150 pages.
Hmm.
But it was a whole story, and
Yes.
it went well. It kept my attention, and it ended right. It had an ending. You know, I like books that have an ending. I don't like
Said your
open.
books usually average between 100 and 125 pages. That's
Okay.
not.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, but I think the longest one is 150, but like 125, 135.
Okay.
It,
So
it
what
just
are you what are you planning on doing from, like, let's say the next year? Do you already have mapped out what you plan for your next novel? Is it already written? Do
oh
you, like, it's already being in the process of being written? And is it along the same lines as what you've done in the past?
I have two more that's already finished. That's how I unwind when I come home from work. I'll sit down, I'll eat, then I'll start writing. Once the voices and characters in my head start moving around, I can knock out a couple of chapters in a day. A couple of months, I say 3 months, I can write a whole book.
Okay.
That's a lot of good concentration because you still have a day job.
Yes.
Yes. Mhm.
Well, working on the assembly line, I don't have to concentrate too much.
Mhm.
It's mainly physical, so I
It's
have time to let my mind wander.
it's repetitious work.
Yes.
Mhm. Yeah. So what are you building cars, I assume? Are you?
Yes.
Okay.
Yeah, Ford Escapes and a Lincoln Corsair.
Oh, okay. Okay. Well, I think you're the first person that worked in the auto industry and wrote books that we've had on the show. and we've had a lot of guests. So it's always interesting to meet people who are not necessarily writers by profession, but they write and publish books.
Right.
Even growing up as a young teenager, all my friends said you can tell stories because that's what I used to do. And we wasn't troublemakers, but we were out in the streets hanging out, and I would just off the top of my head just make up a story about something to entertain us when we're not doing anything.
Okay.
And to this day, some of my friends said, "Man, them stories you used to tell back in the day, if you can write them down." I said, "No, I can't do that. I can't get in trouble. I'm not going to do that."
Yeah. So, your next works that you have coming up, what are they along the line? Are they along similar lines?
There, one of them is it's going to be called Winter's Cold Kiss. That's going to be about a woman who loses her husband, and shortly after his death, she finds out that he used to work for a secret government agent, and his boss comes to her and asks her to finish his last mission in order to take down this crime boss in the city. And she doesn't believe that she can do it, but along her whole marriage, her husband has been training her to use weapons and fight, and she just thought he was just doing something on the humble, just to be with her, to train her. But now that she sees that these skills are going to be coming of use to find out who killed him.
Oh, okay.
And
Well,
the other book I have coming out is called Confessions from the Couch, Death of a Good Man.
Ooh. Okay. Nice title there.
Oh, thank you.
It's certainly attention getting.
Yeah.
That book is about a man who goes to a therapist who helps talk out how he became, as some women call men, dogs. He didn't start off that way. This is a journey of him explaining and understanding how he went from being a real good man to a no good dog.
Okay. So this is from a male point of view, obviously.
Yeah, that's what it
Yes.
sounds like.
Yeah, this one's going to be a conversation piece for both sides.
Okay.
Well, you've
Well-
already started writing this?
Oh, this one's done, yes.
Finished. He said he had 2 books done in the can, waiting on Julia to do her thing.
Julia, come on now. What you waiting on? We got to read. Come on.
I haven't sent them to her yet. I haven't sent them to her yet.
Oh, okay.
Oh, Michael.
I just don't know which one I wanted to send to her first.
Okay. Well, Michael, thank you for being a guest on Black Authors Matter TV. Show your cover of your book one more time so the audience can know which book to order when they go online to take a look. That's not the new one. See, I know.
This is the first one.
Okay.
This is my newest one.
New one, The Dark Side of Desire.
Yes.
Okay, by Michael Young. So thank you for being a guest on the show and congratulations on.
Thank you. Thank you
your
so much
book.
for having me.
You're welcome.
Thank you for being here, and best wishes in all you do. Thank you so much.
Thank you. Thank you.
Have a great night.
No, you too. Good night.
Okay, well, we are at the end of our show for this week. As we mentioned previously, there will not be a show next week because we'll both be recovering from this year's National Black Book Festival. So we are looking forward to launching the event on Thursday night. It's all day Friday, all day Saturday. It's going to be awesome. We hope to see you there. But until then, you won't see us anymore until October 29th. So that's when we'll have the next show. And thank you so much for tuning in. I'm Gwen Richardson signing off.
And I'm Dr. Rhonda Lawson. Have a wonderful evening and a great week.
Thank you for tuning in and join us next Tuesday at 7 p.m. Central, 8 p.m. Eastern for another edition of Black Authors Matter TV.